Hi and welcome to another episode of BARD Talk on Grammar and Thongs, where I look at the language of Shakespeare, which can be quite complicated. Today we're talking about reversed sentence structure, which Shakespeare uses a lot. It's also known as anastrophe or simply as inversion, because you're inverting the order of the words. What reverse sentence structure is reversing the typical word order in a sentence. And Shakespeare likes to play with sentences. He does this in numerous ways. Probably one of the most common ways is to put the verb before the subject. So if you remember my episode on simple sentence structure, we were saying that a simple sentence usually has the structure of a subject, Romeo in this case, a verb, the verb to love in this case, and an object, which is what the verb is being done to. So Romeo loves Juliet. If we were to put the verb before the subject in this case, then we would end up with something like loves, I guess doth, because it's Shakespeare, loves doth Romeo. So that is an example, a simple example of inversion. Other examples might be something like, if I go down here for these, cried the baby instead of the baby cried. Okay, so you can see what I'm doing there. I had one other example, which was sang the songbird. So you get the idea. We're just flipping it around. We're inverting it. A second way that Shakespeare sometimes, and other writers sometimes do this sort of inversion, is by putting an adjective after the noun. So instead of saying the wild river, we might have the noun first and then the adjective, the river wild. Instead of saying the deep ocean, then we would have the noun first and then the adjective, the ocean deep. And sometimes it sounds better to say it that way, which is why writers do it. The third way that writers sometimes invert their sentences is by putting a noun before its preposition. Now this one tends to feel like it's going against the rules of language. But if Shakespeare does it, then it must be okay in some circumstances. Here's an example from Hamlet. And makes us rather bear those ills we have than fly to others we know not of. Which, what he's basically saying there is, better the devil you know. But he's ending with this preposition of, which sounds like it goes against the rules, but rules can be a little too restricting when you're writing, and sometimes you want to be creative. I think Winston Churchill is reputed to have said, when told about this rule, well, that is a rule up with which I will not put, making the point that sometimes to follow a rule about prepositions slavishly ends up with language that doesn't really make sense. So I guess the question out of all of this is, why does Shakespeare use anastrophe, use inversion or a reversed sentence structure so much? And that's what I'd like to talk about next. Thank you.